Problem number 9, trigonometric functions. Use the equation f of x equals 3 times the sine of 2x to answer the questions that follow. I will begin by writing the general equation for a sine function underneath my function. From the equation, we can see that b equals 3, c equals 2, d equals 0, and a also equals 0. In the blanks provided, I can write the values of each variable. And I'll remind myself that a is the midline, b is the amplitude, c is a periodic speed, which I'll just write ps, and d is a horizontal shift, which I'll just write as hs. Now we're ready to graph. Since the midline is 0, or a equals 0, I can draw the midline where y equals 0, or the x-axis, y equals 0. There's my midline. Now to graph the rest of my sine function, I'm going to use my calculator. In y equals, I'm going to type my function 3 times the sine of 2x, and then graph. If you're looking at your calculator and it looks like this, you'll need to adjust your window. On your calculator, press the blue window button. Once you're in your window, change your x maximum to 360, change your y min to -10, and change your y max to 10. This ensures that your function will display in the calculator window. Now that we have the graph of our function, we can see that the periodic speed is 2. Now you're ready to graph. Press second graph so that you can look at the table of values. As a good rule of thumb, you can start with all x values that are multiples of 45. Now that I have my graph, I want to check that the amplitude is 3, or 3 units from the midline to the maximum point of my function. Yes, success. Problem number 10, trigonometric equations. Use the graph below to help answer the following questions. I'm going to start by finding the midline. It's the line that's halfway between the maximum, which is at 3, and the minimum, that is at -1. Halfway between the maximum and the minimum value on my function is 1. So y equals 1 is my midline. Remember, b is the midline, and that's the distance from the maximum to the midline. So the maximum value of my function to my midline is 2 units. In other words, the amplitude equals 2, or b equals 2. Now we need to find c. Remember, c is a periodic speed. In other words, it's the number of completed cycles that the function completes in 360 degrees. So the number of completed cycles in 360 degrees. When the function is above the midline once and below the midline once, that is 1 cycle. Here, the function has gone through 1 complete cycle in 360 degrees, so c equals 1. Lucky for us, this sine function has not been horizontally shifted from the parent function, so d equals 0, because there has been no shift from the parent function sine of x. Now we're ready ready to write the equation for this trigonometric function, we'll start by writing the general form of the sine function. A plus b times the sine of the quantity cx plus d. Now we'll rewrite our function substituting a equals 1, b equals 2, c equals 1, and d equals 0 into our equation. And then we'll simplify it so that f of x equals 1 plus 2 times the sine of x.